If you've been told that you have high cholesterol, you're not alone. It's something that affects millions of Americans. There are many different risk factors that contribute to high cholesterol. Some of them you can't control, and others you can control. The American Heart Association recommends that you start with these 4 key lifestyle changes. 1. Eat a heart-healthy diet. Simply put, trim the fat. One of the best ways to lower your cholesterol is to reduce saturated fats. Try to limit things like red meats, fried foods, and full-fat dairy products, and load up on things like fruits and vegetables, poultry and fish, and foods that are high in fiber. 2. Get moving. Physical activity is a great way to increase your HDL, the good stuff, which helps to decrease your LDL, the bad stuff. Whether you're walking your dog, riding your bike, or swimming, getting aerobic exercise on a regular basis is a great way to keep your cholesterol in check. 3. Lose weight. Being overweight or obese tends to raise your LDL and lower your HDL. Just by losing 10% of your body weight, you can dramatically reduce your risk for high cholesterol. 4. If you're a smoker, stop smoking. If you have high cholesterol and you smoke, you're at an even higher risk for heart disease than non-smokers. Kicking the habit will not only improve your cholesterol, but it will reduce your risk for many other dangerous diseases. Unfortunately, there are some people who can't control their cholesterol just by making healthy lifestyle changes. There are a variety of reasons why, and among them is something known as familial hypercholesterolemia, or FH. FH is a genetic, inherited disease that results in increased levels of LDL. That's why it's a good idea to know about your family's cholesterol history. There's great news for people who can't control their cholesterol through lifestyle changes alone. Cholesterol-lowering drugs have been proven to be safe and effective in controlling cholesterol. If you need cholesterol medication, your healthcare provider can design a treatment plan that's right for you. By taking control of your cholesterol, you'll improve your long-term cardiovascular well-being, which will help you live a longer, healthier life. Taking the next step in managing your health is as easy as CCC. Check, change, and control your cholesterol. Get started now by visiting heart.org/cholesterol.
The point of the new fitness guidelines, just move, and anything counts.
A minute here, a minute there, whatever you can do, whenever you can do it is fine. And it adds up in a positive way.
Not wanting to discourage people from exercising, the new federal guidelines eliminate the expectation that physical activity occur in 10-minute blocks.
There was new observational evidence that almost any level of exercise was useful and that it could be in smaller bites than 10 minutes.
Like parking your car at the back of the lot, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, or walking your dog around the block.
The goal is just to build up a large cumulative amount over the day and to try to get as much incidental physical activity as possible.
The guidelines still call for at least 150 minutes a week of moderately intense aerobic exercise, such as briskly walking, biking, or swimming, and 2 weekly sessions of muscle training activity, like lifting weights, yoga, or heavy gardening and yard work. For the Mayo Clinic News Network, I'm Jason Howland.
Without exercise, your muscles can become weak and deconditioned, leading to back pain and injury. In order to stay healthy, your spine requires a regular regimen of stretching, strengthening, and aerobic conditioning. Work with a spine specialist to find the right exercises to help you stay healthy, strong, and stress and pain-free. Many spine experts agree that smokers are more prone to back pain than non-smokers. It is believed that smoking restricts blood flow to the discs that cushion your vertebrae, prevents bone growth, and can prevent healing from certain surgeries. Ask your health provider to help you find the smoking cessation solution that works best for you.
Nearly 2/3 of Americans do not get a full 8 hours of sleep. Did you hear that? Now, one researcher is sounding the alarm about what he calls the silent sleep loss epidemic. He is scientist Matthew Walker. He's devoted more than 20 years to studying sleep and its impact on health and disease, so he knows what he's talking about. He teaches neuroscience and psychology at the University of California, Berkeley, and he's published more than 100 scientific studies.
Walker's new book is Why We Sleep, Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams. He says sleep deprivation has a catastrophic impact on our health, work productivity, and children's education. The book is published by Scribner, an imprint of Simon & Schuster, a division of CBS. Matt Walter, good morning.
Good morning.
The greatest challenge that America faces in the health arena?
I think it's fast becoming one of the greatest public health challenges that we now face. Every disease that is killing us in developed nations, from cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, stroke, even suicide, they all have significant and causal links to insufficient sleep. And if you look at the epidemiological data, it's quite clear too. Short sleep equals a shorter life. It predicts all-cause mortality.
What's the link?
The link actually is many-fold. So upstairs in the brain, we know that it creates a toxic protein buildup, a protein that's called beta amyloid. That toxic sticky protein is related to Alzheimer's. Downstairs in the body, it demolishes your immune system if you're not getting sufficient sleep. And it also activates stress chemistry that leads to cardiovascular disease, increases in also cancer-related molecules. You also want to eat more when you're not getting sufficient sleep.
So you're fatter.
So you gain weight more quickly. Also, even if you're exercising, we used to think of sleep as the third pillar of good health. That's not true. It's actually the foundation on which those two other things sit, diet and exercise.
What's so great about your book is it's research-based. It's epidemiologically based. 1/3 of adults take naps. What does the research say about that?
Well, naps are a double-edged sword. You have to be quite careful. Firstly, ask yourself, why are you napping? Sleep is not like the bank, it turns out. You can't accumulate a debt and then pay it off either by napping or oversleeping at the weekend. It's an all or nothing event. Naps also can be dangerous in the sense that during the day, the longer that we're awake, we build up sleepiness, and that's good. It's healthy. It means that we'll fall asleep and stay asleep well at night. But if you nap during the afternoon, it's almost like a valve on a pressure cooker. You release some of that sleepiness, so then it makes it that much more difficult to fall asleep and stay asleep.
It adds to your productivity and you have good feeling as well.
So naps, if you can make them regular, can have productivity benefits. And in fact,
you say don't nap after 3 p.m.
If you're struggling with sleep in the evening, or if you can't nap regularly, the advice is don't nap at all. But naps do have some benefits to them. NASA figured this out back in the 1980s. They called it the NASA nap culture. It improved work productivity by about 34%, overall alertness by about 50%. So if they're regular, that's good.
You write about sleeping pills, the bad, and the ugly. Tell us why.
Well, firstly, sleeping pills do not produce naturalistic sleep. I wish they did, but at this stage they don't. They're a class of drugs that we call the sedative hypnotics, and sedation is not sleep. So you're simply removing consciousness, you're not producing naturalistic sleep. The second aspect is that they've been related to a higher risk of mortality, of death, and a higher risk of cancer too.
So just make sure we get to this. So what do you do to make sure you get as much sleep as you should?
So I think there are probably 5 key tips. Firstly, keep it regular. Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, no matter what. The second is darkness. We're actually a dark-deprived society. So at night, try to dim your lights, only put half of the lights on, you don't need them all. Limit screen time. That allows that sort of melatonin hormone to build up and get you to sleep. Keep it cool. Bedroom
65
temperature.
degrees, you said.
65 to 67. It's strange, isn't it?
I'm turning it down, yeah. I've been doing that, yeah.
But your body needs to drop its temperature to get to sleep, and you can help it to do that. That's the third thing, temperature. The fourth is actually walk it out. Don't stay in bed if you've been awake, because then at that point your brain learns the association between your bedroom being about being awake. And many people will say to me, you know, I'm sort of falling asleep on the couch with television. I get into my bed and I'm wide awake and I don't know why, because you've learned the association between bedroom being about wakefulness. Get out, go to a different room, dark light, dim light, read a book. Only return when you're sleepy, and then you'll relearn the association between your bed equaling sleepiness. Finally, and it makes me deeply unpopular, no caffeine after 2 p.m. and no nightcap. Alcohol is probably one of the most misunderstood chemicals. It's also a sedative. You're just knocking yourself out. It's not naturalistic sleep. And it also fragments your sleep. You wake up many more times throughout the night. And it also blocks your dream sleep. So no alcohol.
And you didn't mention food.
Food, the advice right now is don't go to bed too full, don't go to bed too hungry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Sleep cures a lot of things. Yeah.
Why We Sleep is on sale now.
The idea that big things come in small packages is certainly true of blueberries. This tiny fruit is filled with healthy stuff and is an excellent example of a nutrient-dense food.
Nutrient-dense food is looking at a quantity of food and kind of the value of the nutrition you might get from eating it.
Mayo Clinic dietitian Kate Saratsky says nutrient-dense foods pack a healthy punch, delivering nutrients like fiber, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants.
The next question is going to be, well, how much of that do I want to include in my diet?
When you're talking about fruits and vegetables, the answer is a lot.
Not only are they nutrient dense, but they're low in calories. Still very nutritious, but it allows you to eat a larger quantity.
Be aware, though, some nutrient-dense foods like fish, nuts, and seeds are higher in calories.
And so we'll want to be more cautious about our portions of those foods.
For the Mayo Clinic News Network, I'm Jeff Olson.
The response your body has to stress can cause back muscles to tighten or spasm painfully. Stress management is critical in treating or preventing back pain. Seeing a therapist, learning relaxation techniques, exercising regularly, or even just turning off your smartphone can contribute to a healthy, stress-free life. If you must move something heavy, be certain to do it safely. In order to reduce stress and injuries, avoid bending over to lift objects. Squat close to the object with its weight close to your body. Keep your back straight and your head up. Instead of pulling or lifting the object, consider pushing it. If the object proves to be too large or heavy, find a partner to help share the load.
So if you're over the age of 25, you very likely already have some degenerative aging changes in your spine. Now, as a physical therapist, what I get to see is I get to see people through each decade of life, so it's highly motivating for me to take care of myself. And what I want to do for you today is give you some perspective on what I'm seeing through these decades and what you can do to keep your low back in good shape and minimize some of those aging things through the decades, and also to help you reduce pain in your low back as we get older. One of the most important things I think you can do is start to move more and add variety to your movement. When we're thinking about the lumbar spine, we want to look at the way that it's designed. I'm not going to give you an in-depth crazy anatomy lesson here, but let's look at a couple things in the markers of the bones. So the way that the spine is organized, where the bones overlap, there is what's called a facet joint. And these two interlocking parts here will overlap as you go from flexion and back into extension of the spine. Now, this is the common area where people get the most pain, and a lot of people end up with injections. And there's a lot you can do to prevent that. One of the first things you should think about is, one, we shouldn't be bending from our low back to pick nearly anything up in most cases. We're going to create a lot more wear and tear on the spine. So if you've developed a habit of bending straight forward and not bending from your hips, that's one of the best things you can start to do, is start to keep the spine in a good position and bend from the hips instead. And that's going to allow you to maintain your inward curve in the spine there, that lumbar lordosis, and keep the abdominals slightly in too to support your low back and to oppose the shearing forces. When we bend forward, what happens is the disc is actually going to travel this way. So that's why a lot of times if someone goes to bend over and pick up a pencil or something like that, and they feel something give, that's usually the disc that's going out. And it's not so much that it's not so much that it was the pencil itself or whatever it is that you picked up. It was the final straw that broke the camel's back, so to say, when you were bending forward, and all those times you've probably done it many times before. So I highly encourage people to avoid repeated flexion through the spine Always, the cardinal rule here, guys, is take up all available range of motion at the hips first. It's going to be one of the best things you can do for yourself.